As for top speed, in the book they say 130. Many years ago, late at night on a long stretch of road, I had it on the clock at 150, which in real road speed would probably be about, I don't know, 125, 130 probably. A 30-year-old car, I'm not having speedos that accurate, but that's what it had on the clock. I had it touching 150, but in actual road speed, that's probably about 130. To be honest, do you really need to go that fast? Yeah, sometimes. No. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it doesn't hang about. Once it gets going and the G-ladder supercharger starts spinning, yeah, it doesn't hang about, it does move when it needs to. Oh yeah, my name's Richard Wallye Walcott, and this is my Golf Rallye G60. Before I bought this, my first car was a BMW E30, only a 318. From there I then bought a BMW Compact, both not bad cars. Then I bought a Mark IV Golf GT TDI, and then that's where the whole Volkswagen thing took off. Although the BMWs were not bad cars, they weren't as good as the Mark IV. So once I got the Mark IV, it was Volkswagen all the way, I think. I was in the army for a long time, and when I left, a friend of mine said to me, within reason, when you leave with your payout, you can always buy the car that you've always wanted to. At that stage, it was going to be a BMW M3 E30 or a Golf Rallye. To be honest, I ended up buying the Golf Rallye because of its rarity. It only made 5,000. Originally 70 came to the UK, so it's quite a rare car. In 07, I think it was, I saw 2 features in Performance Volkswagen of Golf Rallies, and it was just the angles the cars were photographed at, and reading the write-ups, that just sort of nailed it for me, and it had to be a Golf Rallye when I left. This is actually my second Rallye. I had a blue one first. That was the first one I'd bought, a blue one. I went and took it for a test drive, and I was so impressed with the car. It was about a 5-hour drive home, so I got used to the left-hand drive thing, the noise of the car, the way it felt, absolutely beautiful. So I bought the blue one and was so impressed with it. 6 months later, I then bought this one. To cut a long story short, my marriage then at the time fell apart, and as my mother said to me, you can't drive 2 cars at once, so one of them had to go. And because I'd put more money into this one, the blue one went, and I kept the red one that you see here today. When I got the car, it was completely standard interior. The engine was standard. It had a set of Bourbon A's wheels on it at the time, but apart from that, the car was standard, and there wasn't really too much wrong with it. From there, I then sort of took it down to the garage known as the Phirm, who I've known for probably 12 years. They sort of told me what was up with it, and I said to them, look, I've just left the army, I've got this payout, so I want you to put right whatever is wrong with this car, which they did. So a little bit about the car. Mark II Golf G60 Rallye. They come with a 1.8 engine as standard, supercharged 4-wheel drive. In standard form, they are 160 brake horsepower. This one at the minute, after being down with the Phirm, is probably about anywhere between 220, 240. And I say that because of the bits they've done to it and the bits they've put into it. My plans for the 2 rallies, when I got them, were to have 2 all singing, all dancing show cars. Tim at the Phirm sort of said to me, no, you don't want to do that. He said, what you should have is one completely standard, as best you can get it, and then one as modified and as show car standard as you want. That was the original plan, but as I said, the blue one got sold, and then I kept this red one, and I've tried to do a mixture of show, performance and normal daily usability, to be honest. The restoration story with it goes, I'd had it for about 4 years. It was a nice looking car. I then decided I wanted to change. So I was working away in Afghanistan, doing private security at the time. So I asked the lads at the firm, look, I'd want to change the car. I want to take out the rear seats. I want to change the coilovers, change the wheels, etc, etc. So when I was on one of my 3-month rotations, they did that for me. It had BBS RS on it at the time. There was no rear seats in the back. The roll cage was chrome at the time, and it was a really nice car. It had a feature in performance Volkswagen in 2013. So that'll sort of tell you the sort of standard that it was at once the guys at the garage had finished with it. And yeah, it was a really nice car, and the feature came out really well. After it had its feature in performance Volkswagen, it came off the road for a respray, I'm not going to lie. I know the paint looks good, but it was resprayed about 5 years ago. For one reason or another, it then sat in a lockup for about 4 years. When I went to get the car, to take it down to the firm for the guys to rebuild it, I was actually heartbroken. The paint was good when it came out of the body shop, however it sat in this lockup for 4 years, so it was covered in dust, it was covered in dirt. All my interior had been robbed, mice were living inside. Yeah, it wasn't a pretty sight. So I took it down to the firm because they were ready to sort of do the work on it, rebuild it. And what you see here is what we turned out in 5 weeks from a car that had been half eaten by mice, covered in absolute crap and dirt, with a lot of parts missing, bumper, seats, dash, the whole interior. So I think the biggest achievement is getting it to where it is. Apart from that, I'd say probably the biggest achievement is winning Best Rally at this year's Rally Show. That is my biggest achievement, I think, apart from getting it to where it is, because the way the judging is done there, each rally owner is given a sheet with like best wheels, best interior, best paint, best modified, etc, etc. So we vote for our own cars. So to have the other rally owners vote this one the best of the 28 that were there, yeah, I think that's a real achievement, as well as obviously, as I said, getting the car looking how it is now. Since I've had it, and the times it's been on the road, that's about 5 years altogether it's been on the road. It was off for about 4 years, so about 5 years I've had it altogether on and off the road. And in all that time, I've done about 95,000 miles in the car, which is a lot for a rally. A lot of people say to me, you should never use it as a daily, which I used to. And in all that time, the car only stopped on me twice. The first time, I explained what had happened. They said, yeah, take the fuel relay out, tap it on the floor, plug it back in. I'm on the phone saying, really? Are you sure? Took it out, banged it on the floor, put it back in, not a problem. The second time, the heater matrix went on me. I knew how to do the bypass, I just didn't have the piece of pipe to do it, so I had to call the RAC out. And in 95,000 miles, that is the only time that car has skipped a beat. And for that reason, 95,000 miles and the car is still rocking steady, and it's the reason why nowadays I call it rock steady. So getting the parts, and getting the parts that were missing was a big difficulty. It had electric Recaros in it first time, which I wanted again. They're not cheap, they're hard to find, or finding the right ones, should I say. Inner wheel arch trims were missing from the front, which I tried to speak to as many people as I could on various different forums. Nobody had any, or the people who didn't want to give them up, because as I said to you, the parts are so rare for this thing. In the end, I managed to find a set in Holland. Again, like I said, they weren't cheap. But yeah, I think it was just the parts. Again, where I was missing so many nuts and bolts, again called in another favour, and a friend of mine called James. He sent me a shoebox full of nuts and bolts, and when myself and Tim and the lads were putting it together, they'd look and say, right, we need one of these, and I'd say, well, I don't know, let me look in the box from James. They'd be like, no, I doubt they'll have one in there. True enough, I'd look through the box and there would be one, maybe two, and they'd just look at me and go, you lucky bastard. Because if it wasn't in there, my chances of getting hold of it were nil, to be honest. So yeah, that was the biggest difficulty, finding the parts to rebuild it to the standard that it's at now. I love driving the car, obviously. For those who've never driven a left-hand drive, it does take a bit of getting used to, but I've had it long enough now that I'm totally used to it. Driving experiences, yeah, you go places, and because it is such a rare car that people don't see often, you normally get a lot of thumbs up, a lot of, yeah, we love that car, and a lot of pointing, etc, etc. I've been on a stretch of road before where a couple in a Mark II Golf overtook me, and at one point you had the girl in the passenger seat steering the car as her boyfriend in the driver's seat was trying to lean across, filming the car as they come past. I wouldn't advise doing anything like that, but obviously he wanted to catch the car on film. As I said, yeah, you don't see them very often, so you do get a lot of thumbs up and a lot of, yeah, really love that car. You also get a lot of, is that a Mark II with a body kit? Is that a real Rallye? Is that a Jetta front end? Nope, it's a Golf Rallye. That's how it comes from the factory as standard, headlights, flared wheel arches, etc, etc, etc. I was at a petrol station only 2 days ago, and a guy came up to me and said, is that a real Rallye? And I thought to myself, like I would make a replica. The amount of money it would take to make a replica, you might as well buy the real thing. So I just sort of said to him, yeah, they only made 5,000, and of those 5,000, 13 were set aside for rallying. Never went to the US. It was originally going to go there, but it didn't go to the US. Originally 70 SE models came to the UK. Of those 70 models that came to the UK, I can't tell you how many is left. Between myself and a few friends, we sort of try and keep tabs on as many as we can see, find, know of. And I would say there is probably 100 plus, or around about 100-ish in the UK. Again, there are people who go onto DVLA and ask or find, don't ask me how they do it. And at the last count, there is 35 of these taxed MOT that are running on the road in the UK at the minute. So of 100 that's in the country, don't get me wrong, I do know that a lot of them are going through a restoration, rebuilds, stuff like that. Some guys just keep them as showpieces, waiting for the price to go up. But as I said, there's about 35 to about 40 registered on the road at the minute. The rally show this year here at Doncaster, that had 28 rallies there. So when you think there is, like I said, probably about 100-ish in the UK, and for the organisers, Simon and his team, to have 28, that's some achievement, to have that many. And to see 28 rallies in one place on the same day, yeah, that was a really good sight, really good to see. But as I said, it is a rare car, and as a friend once said to me, because of its rarity, a rally will get respect wherever it goes. And yeah, I have noticed that. It'll get respect. I didn't say it'll get love, because a rally is one of those things that either you love them or you hate them. I don't think there's any middle ground. I know people who say it's their dream car, they absolutely love them, whereas I know other people who are like, no, just don't even like the look of it. So it's a bit of a Marmite car, either you love them or you hate them. Whilst I was working in Afghan and the car was off the road, what you see here now is a vision that I had in my head. So I'd bought all these parts over the 4 or 5 years I was working away. And when the car came together, the lads at the garage said to me, fair play to you, you had a vision in your head, you had no idea how it would look until it was complete. And they give me a lot of abuse, they give me a lot of banter, and they said to me, actually, from what you described and from what you were saying it was going to look like, you've not done a bad job. And I said, well look, the design, the style is all mine, but the actual putting together is what you guys have done. So it's not just my work, it's your work as well that's got it to where it is. So yeah, the vision that I had, I'd say it looks as good if not better than what I'd imagined. Rocksteady special because I was in the army for 24 years, and if I hadn't have been in the army for 24 years, I probably wouldn't have had the money to afford one. So if you look at that, I'm 50, well, I mean 43 actually. I've been in the army over half my life. So I look at it like half my life is wrapped up in this car, because if it wasn't for the army and doing those 24 years in the army, I probably wouldn't have had this. So that's the reason why it's so important and why it's so special, because of those 24 years. And as I said, without the payout at the end, I wouldn't have got this car. So half my life is wrapped up in this car. And also, I've actually got the a picture of the car tattooed there on my arm. So if I lost the car, I'd probably have to lose my arm, to be honest.